I never imagined my time as a Navy SEAL would mean anything in a quiet suburban street. But one afternoon, it came back to me in the harshest way. 3 men dressed like cops stormed onto my property claiming they were there for HOA business. And then one of them made the biggest mistake of his life. He struck my wife, Sarah. By the end of the day, their faces were nothing like when they walked in. Before we start, drop a comment with the country you're watching from. I want to see how far this story spreads. It all began that morning when Sarah stepped outside to water the flowers. She noticed a black SUV circling the block 3 times before parking across the street. 3 men stepped out, all in tactical vests with shiny police patches. At a glance, they looked official, but Sarah caught details instantly. Their belts were flimsy nylon, their holsters cheap plastic, and not one of them carried a radio. Real cops never work without comms. The tallest one marched toward our yard. "Ma'am, HOA inspection," he barked, flashing a badge that looked like it came from a cereal box. Sarah calmly asked, "Since when does the HOA hire officers?" That's when the second one sneered, "We're not hired, lady. We're the law." Sarah told them to leave immediately, warning them they were trespassing. Instead, the third stepped closer, resting a hand on his fake baton. When she pulled out her phone to record, he slapped it down. Then, in a move that made my blood boil, he slapped Sarah across the face. That's when I came outside. I'd been in the garage organizing old gear when I heard Sarah shout. I saw her clutching her cheek while these clowns puffed themselves up like they owned the block. In that moment, I went from neighborly patience to combat readiness. I walked up and said, "You boys picked the wrong house. You've got 5 seconds to explain who sent you." The tall one smirked. "The HOA president said you've been ignoring notices. We're here to make sure you comply." He tried to stare me down, but I've dealt with warlords and mercenaries. A suburban pretender in a knockoff vest barely registered. I told Sarah to lock the door. She didn't argue. She knew I was about to handle it. I stepped closer, voice low. "Touch my wife again, and you won't be walking out." They laughed, but I saw their bravado falter when I demanded ID. Real officers must identify themselves by law. These guys refused. That's when I knew they weren't just trespassers. They were impersonating cops, a federal crime. And right there, with half the neighborhood watching, I decided enough was enough. The moment I confirmed they were fakes, the switch flipped. I didn't throw a punch yet, but I planted my feet, squared my shoulders, and locked eyes. It was the same stance I'd used overseas when things turned ugly. They must have sensed it because their chuckles faded. The tall one jabbed a finger. "You think you can dodge HOA rules? Your truck, your fence, those dogs, they're violations. We're here to enforce compliance." A dark laugh rose in my chest. "First off," I said, calm but sharp, "my truck's parked legal. My fence is up to code. And those dogs? Service animals, protected by federal law." Then I stepped forward, forcing him back. "Second, you're trespassing and impersonating officers. That's 10 years behind bars." The short one puffed up. "You can't threaten us. We'll cuff you right here." He fumbled with his Velcro belt, yanking out cuffs so cheap they wouldn't hold a kid. That was it. My patience was gone. I moved. My left hand twisted his wrist until the cuffs hit the ground, and my right elbow cracked his jaw clean. He dropped to the grass, groaning. The second rushed me, baton swinging. I sidestepped, caught his arm, and used his momentum to flip him over my shoulder. He crashed onto the concrete with a thud that silenced the crowd. The leader froze, eyes wide. For a second, he still tried to keep up the act. "You're attacking officers!" he shouted. I closed the distance until he could feel my breath. "No. You're watching me stop 3 criminals from hurting my wife. Big difference." At that moment, Sarah appeared in the doorway, phone raised again, this time recording without hesitation. "Already called the sheriff," she yelled. "They're on their way." The leader muttered a curse and tried to sprint toward the SUV. Not a chance. I grabbed the back of his vest, yanked him off balance, and slammed him onto the hood. He wriggled, but he had no skill, just arrogance and a costume. By the time the real deputies rolled up, 2 of the fakes were down groaning, and the last was pinned under my knee. Weapons drawn, the deputies shouted, "Hands where we can see 'em!" I lifted mine right away, stepping back while Sarah pointed them out. "Those guys assaulted me. They claimed to be police." The deputies moved fast, stripping off the bogus vests, confiscating the gear, and hauling them to their feet. It didn't take long before the truth unraveled. The so-called leader cracked first, admitting the HOA president had slipped them cash to teach us a lesson. That's when I realized this wasn't petty harassment, it was a conspiracy. If you're still with me in this HOA nightmare, hit like and subscribe. The story only escalates from here. At the sheriff's station, the imposters looked pathetic. Their knockoff uniforms were tagged as evidence, their wrists cuffed for real this time, and their lies collapsing under pressure. During questioning, they admitted exactly what I suspected. Karen Ellis, the HOA president, had sent them. She wanted me roughed up, Sarah intimidated, and both of us put back in line. When the deputies asked if I'd be pressing charges, I didn't pause. Absolutely. Impersonating law enforcement is a felony, and striking my wife carries consequences. But Karen wasn't ready to fold. That same day, she filed a lawsuit against me, claiming I'd used excessive force and tarnished the HOA's reputation. She even argued her thugs were security contractors, and I'd overreacted. My lawyer nearly laughed when he saw the paperwork. "This is a gift," he said. "We'll counter with harassment, assault, and conspiracy. And with Sarah's video, this will blow up in her face." Court came quickly. On one side sat Karen, smug in her blazer, whispering frantically to her attorney. On the other side, Sarah gripped my hand calmly while our lawyer prepared to dismantle them. The judge didn't waste time. He called for the HOA's case first. Their flimsy argument collapsed the moment Sarah's video played on the big screen. Every detail, her being slapped, me warning them, the fake badges, the attack in broad daylight, was crystal clear. The judge leaned back, unimpressed. "These men are criminals, and you, Mrs. Ellis, hired them. Your lawsuit is dismissed, and you're sanctioned for abusing the legal system." My attorney rose smoothly. "Your Honor, we're filing a counterclaim for conspiracy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and HOA harassment. My clients deserve restitution." Karen's face drained of color. Her false confidence cracked as the weight of it hit her. When the gavel came down, not only was her case thrown out, but she was held personally responsible for damages. The HOA board members in attendance refused to even glance her way as they filed out. Her reign of intimidation was collapsing right in front of her. As for the three imposters, they were denied bail, staring down multiple felonies. After court, the sheriff himself shook my hand. "Good thing you stayed composed," he told me. "Most folks would have panicked. You probably saved your wife from worse." I nodded, holding Sarah close. Karen thought fear, lies, and muscle could control us. Instead, she lost everything.